Guys, Blizzard are their own worst enemy. Now, that's a statement from Bellular, no less, but hey, we all know the Bellular cycle by this point. You glaze Blizzard, then you stay neutral, and now he's on the offensive. And I do respect the hustle, I really like his videos, so I just wonder what Blizzard did this time to trigger such a visceral reaction from Bellular. Let me guess, something to do with monetization.
Well,
I haven't watched this
video.
video.
Sparkle Pony, haven't we? You probably didn't miss this bit of news. Blizzard are already pushing their luck with the housing shop, where there's a new bundle on the store that costs 7,500 Hearthsteel. That's $75.
What?
A lot of money.
$75 for a bundle to the housing system, no less. It's not even something you... Whoa. That's crazy. What? Cozy Treehouse Retreat Bundle. What do you know? Damn. That's crazy. You know, it does look cozy. I guess that's the that's the target audience Blizzard is aiming for. Great. 500% value. No, it's gotta be at the very least 1k value. No way. Look at that. Look at the pixels. Definitely worth 75 doubloons. 100%. Wow, when you get like two variables, that's insane. You have like the green thing, and you have like the pink thing. Whoa. So great. By the way, mind you, I'm pretty sure that Blizzard is actually limiting you one per purchase. So if you purchase this, it's not infinite. You actually get only one copy of each property. I may be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
For a bundle in a game that, of course, we're paying a sub for. And as many people are pointing out, it's
and the base game fee.
More expensive than Midnight itself. Hell, the Midnight Base Edition plus 1 month of game time is still less than that. And only one thing in the entire store's history has been more expensive, and that is obviously the Brutosaur. That was a massive success
by,
I guess, financial accounts, and I guess helped prove to Blizzard that...
What? Blizzard likely earned over 15 million with a single mount. Guys, we gotta nuke humanity. I think we went past the horizon. I think we're done. We're cooked. Yeah, we need to reset. We need to reset. Something is off.
Big special items can actually bring in the cash, even if they have exorbitant pricing. This $75 bundle is another attempt to prove that true, and they have brought out the big guns to make sure of it. And by that I mean something they've literally never sold before. So, the new housing bundle has a giant stack of new decor, but it also has something they have not sold before, which is new exteriors. Quick thing first, have you ever wondered how spam callers get your number, or how just eerie things seem to happen in the internet where people appear to have...
I mean, okay, I'm usually never skipping ads, but we're lacking on time today. I'm going to do something a little bit unorthodox. But shout out to Bellular, he grinding.
Go hit up the link below.
I appreciate the hustle.
There are now a grand total of 6 exteriors in the game, and 2 of them are for sale. Tauren, Forsaken, Dwarves, most races have got nothing. And the really rough bit here is you can't even buy these things individually. You've got to get both of them for another $40 bundle, which of course will be without any of the accompanying decor. Now,
so Blizzard literally locks you away from purchasing it individually. You have to get both for nothing at all? That's based. That's based.
All of the accompanying decor matches the color and aesthetic directly.
Don't be poor. It's that easy.
Making it almost a necessity to get at least some of these decor items if you actually want the outside of your house to look like something and, you know, to match the big house exterior that you just bought. They're basically selling themed starter packs for more than a full-price AAA game. It's actually $5 more than one of the more premium Diablo 4 editions, and the base Diablo 4 is $39.99, which is way less than this. And that comparison will be very important later. Now look, I could rag on this all day, especially given the fact that they launched, this alongside a totally busted patch. But that wouldn't be all that useful. People all across the internet are doing a much better job of that anyway. I'd much rather talk about why this is so expensive. Not to defend it, absolutely not. But to put it in context, so you know what's actually going on. And maybe to convince Blizzard, if you're watching, well, I know a bunch of you are, why this is a really bad idea.
No, it's not. People will always pay for it, and the people who are already addicted to World of Warcraft will just choose to ignore it over and over again. There's a reason why this did not stop in Pandaria. There's a reason for it. Because people ate that up. And if there was enough pushback, even back in the day, Blizzard would have stopped. But there isn't. Because nobody's boycotting them, nobody really cares. At the end of the day, the rich people, like the wealthy people, the whales, essentially, will just keep on paying for that garbage, and you'll have to suffer because of it. That's just reality. You cannot do anything against it. All that Blizzard cares about are shareholders. You are literally an insignificant creature to them.
Okay, so here's the deal.
So many people swipe the card for these things is insane. I think that you underestimate how many wealthy people are there that are so bored with their lives they're willing to do anything just to feel something. If Blizzard publish or just put into the game a new shiny thing and it makes them feel happy for a second, they will purchase that. No matter the cost, because they don't care. They have more money than they could ever spend. Now and when I say we, I assume that like at least 90% of you people are like me, a giga poor and just, trying to save money. We care about this stuff because we can afford it. But if you had more money than you can count, wouldn't you have done the same? I don't know. I literally don't know. And it's funny because yesterday I played Where Winds Meet and people donated so much to me to the point where I had to actually stop the donations. And it was just like, it's too much. I don't need this because I don't want money, right? I don't really care about money. As long as I can have enough to end the month, it's good for me. But these people told me, bro, we don't care to spend money on you. You give us great content. And we have we're millionaires. They straight up told me they're millionaires. So it just made me realize, okay, there are actually people out there who don't care spending this because it's like nothing to them. But the problem is that you mix these type of people with people such as ourselves and you create a really imbalanced ecosystem where only the wealthy can truly enjoy the game, and the poor people are like being, in huts, essentially, inside of Midnight WoW. And it's just really, really bad. I think a truly competent developer team and a company should strike that perfect balance and try to make sure the people who are not that wealthy can actually afford stuff inside of the game. And generally speaking, I don't think that World of Warcraft should have a cash shop because it's already subscription-based, and you have a base game to pay for. So having a cash shop on top of that is just ridiculous.
Textbook whaling, obviously. Housing is a new feature, and their numbers department are going to be drooling over all the kinds of data that they can get. They poked the low-end sales with the little plushies they put in at the start. Those are inoffensive little sales that nobody would really need, even if they arguably did break Blizzard's own rule of having no faction fantasy within the paid offerings for housing.
Another promise
the
broken.
Spreadsheet enjoyers were, of course,
Add that to
watching
the
sales
list.
numbers go up, and using years of store data that they've accumulated, they probably figured out a baseline. There's whole departments that do this kind of thing at big game companies, and they'll be working out things like how many bundles were bought versus just individual items for little tiny amounts of Hearthsteel here and there, or perhaps who was buying more Hearthsteel than they needed. And if they're really good, they'll even track how much of it was Battle.net balance from WoW tokens. Now, shortly after the plushies, we got the decor bundles, and even they seemed pretty expensive. We actually did quite the spicy video on it. It was $35 for a large pack of decor, which got you unique items and some bonus Hearthsteel. So they obviously know people will buy these things. They know what price, and with what we're talking about today, they are testing another upper limit to that price. It's almost like a negotiation, you see, between the player base and Blizzard. How high are we willing to go to buy some decor? They probably have a good idea by now, just like how they know what mounts or transmog sets will sell for. But the next question is how high we will go for a different class of item. That's where a lot of their future...
So essentially Blizzard is now in the testing phase of microtransaction, where they put something with an exuberant price in there, like really insane price. And then people are like, you know what, maybe that's too much. But Blizzard just looking at a graph go up and are like, yeah, damn, that's the exact point we want to keep them at. Like, this is it. You see, this is the true PTR for Blizzard. Not the insane bugs they ship the current patch with. No, not that. It's the microtransactions. Insane. Absolutely insane. They're going to do a PDR solely for microtransactions. Mark my words.
Dollars could be, so they're fishing. Will we bite for $40 exteriors, or will...
Yeah, I just hope there are plenty of decorations you can get just by playing the game. Of course. But you know their quality? Well, let's say they look like something I cannot mention on this very channel.
We buy the $75 bundles. Will those sell more? We can't know ahead of time, of course, but we'll definitely get the answer. The next bundle will tell us. If it's cheaper, then maybe this was too expensive and they're testing another direction. If it's even more expensive, then their whaling will have been successful. But of course, none of this happens in a vacuum. Well, at least for you and me. The problem with large corporations, a big company like Blizzard, is things actually do happen in a vacuum. They're handled by different people, different sets of responsibilities, different departments, which means it's possible, and indeed likely, that a corporation will act more stupid than the sum of its parts. And that's what's happened
What a surprise.
here. There's likely a bit of a hitch in their whaling strategy. This kind of thing only works if people are happy with the game. And right now, there's a lot of people who aren't. I don't think I really need to tell you why.
You'd be surprised how much this statement ain't true. People will buy anything, no matter what Blizzard pushes, because it's World of Warcraft. People are too nostalgia-pilled and just addicted to this game to actually quit. So they'll just keep on piling up, and it only becomes worse with time because of sunken cost fallacy. The more you invest, the deeper you are, and the less likely is that you'll quit. It's simple Gamba mechanics. Everyone knows that. And Blizzard utilizes a full crew of psychologists to make sure that this remains that way. It's a very well-known fact. Every single big company does that. It's extremely simple. I actually reacted to a video on this very channel of a person explaining how whaling works and how you can milk the whales in so many ways. It was psychotic. Really, it just made me lose all faith in humanity. Can you buy gems with gold in WoW? I'm assuming you mean Heartsteel, and as far as I'm aware of, no.
Summarize it though, the parts of 1205 that didn't work really didn't work. 1207 looks genuinely great so far, but we've got no reason to believe it will launch cleanly. And even though, actually I think a bunch of the 1205 stuff is pretty damn good, now that it's a bit tidied up and working, well, for many people, the damage has been done. The trust is gone.
No.
And Blizzard's response has not
The trust has been gone since Wrath of the Lich King. No.
Ideal, to say the least. We just released a video covering a damage control interview they set up, and really all the ways
We watched
that
that.
they trade, the way they think about the game, from story to bugs to patch schedule. It was concerning. Now, to be clear, I still think Midnight has a hell of a lot going for it. I really do. But all the same, there is a noticeable dip in Blizzard's public opinion over handling the post-launch period of this expansion, and that has put a little bit of doubt into the immediate future. You see, it's easy to say that whoever's running the store at Blizzard clearly doesn't care about any of this shit. And
Yes.
It's not really their job to care. That's not their bag. The content train must reach the next station. That's the core development team's thing. The shop experiments, well, those always seem to run on time no matter what. There's no process within Blizzard that says, are we willing to sacrifice a little bit of revenue and delay an experiment we want to make in order to, well, have our public perception be just a tad better?
It's like asking Asmongold not to drink soda. Do you think that would happen? Hell no.
No, there is none of
What
that.
are we talking
These
about
things
here?
Operate on separate tracks. And in a company as lumbering as Blizz, clearly no one has the speed, authority, or guts to say, hey, this is not the best time to run a high-end pricing experiment. I'm sure many employees of the company do think that. In fact, based on what I know, I'd say very many people working at Blizzard think this is an awfully timed thing. Now, not just because of unhappy players that may spend less money, but also because releasing a $75 housing bundle before the other racial exteriors is going to make players feel like it's incessant greed. And what we feel is maybe the
Wow.
single most important thing in the long term. And here's the deal. Blizzard follows a lot of numbers, their analytics, etc. But before that, you get anecdote. And by the time things manifest in the form of numbers that aren't where you want them to be, the damage has already been done. If you've just followed the numbers, you will be led astray. But it's not just money. If it was only money, then you could make the argument of delay this, launch it right, launch it better, and your long-term numbers will be more healthy. But within the cogs and incentive structures of a company such as Blizzard, well, money now is more important than money later. Of course, we know Microsoft have been pushing them for profit so that the $70-odd billion they spent on the big acquisition makes sense for them. That's the world we're living in, and the deal we make playing a game like WoW.
We made a crappy deal with Blizzard, so now we have to push expensive decors to make up for it. Great financial decision. Absolutely. I really cannot wait for the day Microsoft would actually crush and burn. I really cannot wait for that day. Not only Windows sucks balls, they actually purchase gaming companies and fuck them up too. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I hate that. I had every single thing about it.
Oh. As players, we're mostly happy to buy the odd epic edition to stay subscribed and maybe pick up the odd cosmetic we like from the store. And the funny thing is, Diablo 4's recent WoW-inspired cosmetics are a really good example of that. We've seen WoW release a housing exterior, or a pack of them, and spark fury, but then Diablo adds some WoW gear and actually have it spark excitement. Why is that? Well, it's all because of the vibes, you see. Lord of Hatred is making people happy. I personally am almost, I don't want to say shocked, but I am surprised by just how well Lord of Hatred is landing with me. And as much as it's insane to me to look at the D4 store and see these WoW things being $28 each or...
Yeah, that's the crazy part. It's not the fact that they're in the game. It's like, look how good that is. My God, I would have purchased that 100%. But no, Blizzard had to put it in behind a paywall. Of course. Like, why wouldn't they? Instead of making it a really cool event inside of the game where you earn tokens and you can purchase whatever you want and actually connect it to World of Warcraft, maybe do a dungeon inside of World of Warcraft that is Diablo themed, or God forbid a raid. No, you just take that, give us money. So dumb. Dude, I truly hate this company. This video actually made me a lot angrier.
Like $54 for all of them.
I'm not having fun.
74% discount. I roll my eyes at that. But I also do remember, well, I buy the Diablo expansion once, and that's it. There's no monthly fee. I can just play every single season. It's literally a different business model to World of Warcraft, so it's harder to do this type of thing right in WoW.
You also pay for the expansions. What are you talking about? If you want the new characters, you gotta pay for them. It's not free. You have DLCs. What? Yeah, you need to purchase the extra.
Now, but to double down on that being tough, 1205 is a busted patch, so people already don't feel fantastic about the sub fee that they're putting into the game. That means it just doesn't feel worth it at all. Now, to be honest, this might actually be one of the worst times imaginable for Blizzard to be pushing their luck. And that's because the honeymoon phase of housing appears to have ended. I wasn't keeping track of this. I'll tell you what, I certainly raised my eyebrows when I saw the headlines. So, we've seen over the last few weeks, players have grown increasingly dissatisfied. Or at least, some of them. But
of course,
within the housing space,
when didn't
it's
they?
So much so that Wowhead has posted an article asking if Blizzard should consider tying it into player power. There's a very easy answer, and that is no.
No.
Never.
Why would you ever consider that?
Please don't do that. That would send us back years to the horrible time where every single activity in the game had some form of unique player power that you felt you needed. I mean, to this day, I believe Torghast has been done dirty purely by its reward design. And...
a part of me kind of wishes they actually go full blast on that, and they make it so the wealthier you are, the better the buffs you're gonna get. I think that would be a hoot. I could suck in real life and in game. That's wonderful. You know what? I'd ship that. I'd ship that patch. If I was Blizzard manager, 100% I would have gone for that. That's good. You know, the amount of content that I can pull off of that would be sublime.
Well, a few of the really cool versions of Torghast that Blizzard game jammed internally, but that can't be talked about in public. They had some really damn cool ideas, but you saw they weren't able to fit them into the game in a way that made sense. Anyway, possible rage bait headline from Wowhead aside, the article does highlight a bunch of problems that people have got. And basically, it's death by 1,000 cuts once you start reading into the ongoing issues. Now, I'll be clear, for a MMO going from 0 to 1 with housing, I think they've broadly done a fantastic job. The tools are really, really nice to use. There's a bunch with it that shows real care and real craft. But there's also reasons that's not hitting as hard as it should. One of them is bugs. Housing has been getting worse rather than better since launch. Rather surprisingly. You see, until recently, floors didn't work. Yeah, your floor type would reset randomly, which would rather obviously break the entire aesthetic of every non-default room in your house. People are reporting that walls are doing the same, and then there's a rotation bug where rugs and stools and other ground items won't save their rotation correctly. And there's a placement bug with only advanced mode being able to save certain item positions correctly. But think about it this way, putting items down can suck, but even when you've put them down, you can't trust that the items won't, well, move themselves about after you've placed them. Which for a feature like this is really quite bad indeed. But
yeah, because all Blizzard do nowadays is vibe coding. They don't know how to code. Their entire game relies on spaghetti code from like 2004 and basically just skins on top of it. It's really, really bad. That's why World of Warcraft should have died with Wrath of the Lich King, and they should have went to a completely new engine. They should have just went World of Warcraft 2 and made it just entirely new. Because the old engine can't carry it over anymore. It just breaks. I think it's very limiting, even though you can pull off pretty amazing fun stuff inside of it. I think they should just upgrade the engine.
Unfortunately for Blizz, it's not just building and decorating where there are issues. Cracks are showing elsewhere. Housing levels have proven to be a bit more busy work than excitement, I would say, and that's especially once you run out of easy sources of decor. I mean, at times you quite literally have to collect decor items that you don't want in order to increase the housing limit stuff to place the decor that you do want and perhaps already have. It's a bit weird.
What?
Then there's endeavors.
Why
they
it
seemed like a nice touch, but they started repeating, which kind of broke the spell of there being lots to do. Really, when they launched, the possibilities felt endless. And in a way, it's not Blizzard's fault, but they accidentally set up some big expectations which ended up collapsing into, for some people, some disappointment. Getting decor
Don't worry, we're
itself
used
does
to it.
seem to be mostly fine,
it.
but not everyone agrees with that. Some say they're struggling with playing enough to actually get everything that they want. And of course, lots of time collecting leads to less time for building. But building time is another concern. And I've got to say, personally, it's the number one reason why I have not engaged with this feature as much as I thought I would. Basically, I'm in the camp of people holding out for improvements because I'm fairly sure those improvements will come. And that's mostly because we don't yet have import and export codes. And that means that decorating your house is a bit like making a sand mandala. It's designed to be temporary. If you want to try a new build, you might have to remake the old one from scratch later. Now, if we were never getting loadouts, perhaps that would be kind of freeing. But because we know loadouts are in the works, well, I guess people like me will be waiting. In fact, that's maybe housing's biggest problem in a way. We know it isn't finished. The decor limits keep going up. That's baked in.
Blizzard would never ship an unfinished product. What is he talking about? That's crazy. The whole discussion about predatory monetization in games is so sad. I know. And it's all you're ever going to hear about in the next decade. Because companies are getting greedier and greedier by the day. And there's nothing you can do about it. And you can say, oh, don't open your wallet. It doesn't matter. Because some whale is going to do so. And there's absolutely nothing you can do against it. Nothing. And the best example I can give you is Diablo Immortal. Diablo Immoral. Sorry. Right? Because everyone and their mothers said they would boycott this game. Nobody's going to download it. It's the you guys don't have phone type of game, right? You remember that? And look what happened. The moment the game launched, I think in its first year, it made like $500 million. It was insane. I remember reading the amount and crying. It was crazy. You can't stop that. The type of people who purchase all of these expensive housing systems and all of the, microtransactions, mounts, transmogs, etc., they're not even on the same level as you. You can't communicate with them. You just literally can't. They're in a completely different world. They're in a different realm entirely. There's nothing we can do. All we can do is be crushed under the rubble or just quit to different games. That's what we can do. And speak against it, right? That's what I'm doing right now. I'm giving an outlet to all of these people voices to actually speak against Blizzard. But at the end of the day, I'm just shouting to the void. It doesn't do anything. It won't do anything. My only hopes is that Classic Plus would release with the least amount of microtransactions imaginable. But I highly doubt that would happen. I'm pretty sure they're going to implement WoW token into it, transmogs, etc. Like, with paid with real life money. Don't blame too much of the developers. It's a big company. Bad code can be a result of a bad superior decision. It's not really the developer yet. I mean, it is the developer. It's not all on them. Obviously, the structure is like, it can go all the way up, right? Because they're putting them on way strict deadline. It's way too strict, and they can't work on the game. I completely understand that. They have so little time to ship a new patch. It's the 8-week cycle, something like that. So I do understand why it's so messy. But at the same time, I think Blizzard developers are incompetent, because there are some junior developer issues within the game that can be easily fixed, but they're all ignored. And the worst problem is the fact that they add HR department rather than QA team. That's the major issue.
To the progression system itself. Now you might think that sounds engaging and perhaps is a nice on-ramp. That's true enough, I guess, but there is another side to it. It means that people can never finish a build. You're not finished within the game's limits because the limits aren't fixed. Same goes for the rest of the features. We know there's a housing roadmap in the works, but it's been a while since we've heard anything about it. So right now, housing almost exists in limbo. Players don't know whether they should prep for increased decor limits, new housing levels, or new exteriors. They don't know if loadouts will be next month or next year. There's certainly a lot of edit mode tweaks that I would like to see be added in, just so that it kind of feels like a bit of a nicer, more power usery piece of software. But what that all boils down to is uncertainty. You see, uncertainty has been shown to be one of the most dangerous things in a game like this. That's because, to many people, their time and their effort are investments. Of course, so is their money. And that's likely why Blizzard will see, well, I would imagine, lower than expected sales of this new bundle.
Wow.
Because
you can also take solace in the fact that Blizzard themselves have no idea what they're doing. The uncertainty doesn't apply to you. It's also to Blizzard. They have no idea what their next step is because their view is so myopic. Blizzard can't see anything beyond their next quarterly update. So they can't create anything good, and especially not long term.
Way, Blizzard are asking for increased investment, but they're doing that without laying out a future that people are happy to invest in. And of course, they have set up obvious perverse incentives. If they start selling big housing exteriors like this, essentially as prefabs, well, what does that imply for exterior decor limits? Because that new fancy house can just be like one item, right? Not some big complex hodgepodge that you've put together. And that means that players who purchase these cool new houses and therefore don't have to customize their house as much with regular exterior decor items, well, they're going to be able to put way more items into their gardens and their landscapes. Which,
that's their plan.
Given how limited the exterior decor limits are,
that's
will
literally
make
the plan.
A huge difference between the haves and the have-nots with this feature. And that will make people feel bad. Here's where the corporate stuff I dangled earlier actually becomes relevant. Housing has got a long way to go to live up to its full potential. That's a measure of there being improvements to make, but it's also, in my view, a measure of just how grand that potential is. Now here's the problem. The ideal way for this to run is fairly obvious. Do the roadmap. Execute a bunch of the roadmap, and then start to increase the monetization once players feel like you've actually earned it. And
they can't make a roadmap because they don't know where the road is heading. It's the same reason why Mr. Pandaria Classic roadmap is empty. Because they don't know yet if they're gonna do Draenor Classic or they're just gonna destroy it and full focus on Classic Plus. Blizzard has not a damn clue. They're just waiting and they're scouting in the dark to find an answer. And when they see something as oh, it can financially benefit me, okay, then I'll do it. Because Blizzard always follow the money. They don't do anything out of integrity. They don't do anything out of the benefit of their audience. All they do is gain more money. That's it. The junior developer issue is that the people who understood the spaghetti code were fired because their salaries were too high and replaced by people with basic skills and no one to train them. Exactly. And that's why I say current Blizzard developers aren't just incompetent. Like, you can see it clearly. Yeah, everyone from the top down is hired because they're willing to follow orders and not get involved with caring about continuity and other QoL issues that impact players. I couldn't have said this better myself. You're 100% right, because Blizzard does not hire talent anymore. They hire bots, okay? And by the way, whenever robots become a real thing and AI is like literally going to take over these people's jobs, Blizzard would be like that to fire them. it's going to happen in an instant, and there would be no recourse.
And once you've actually seen players,
they would be
engage
easily
with the system
replaced
over months upon months upon months, meaning you'll better understand their pain points and what sort of things they would like, or perhaps even resonate with. And with a system like player housing, there's obviously some pressure to show to the bean counters that it's actually leading to the numbers going up. Evidently, even if that means hurting the reputation of that feature, and perhaps even hurting its long-term potential. And the fundamental cock-up is simple. It feels like Blizzard are asking for more money while we deal with more bugs, while a roadmap that they said would be coming has not materialized. This is a PR issue, and to be honest, Blizzard...
No, it's a fundamental issue. Blizzard suck. It's not a PR issue. It's not PR like, oh, we forgot to communicate with you. No, the game just literally suck. It's trash. It's garbage. That's not a PR issue. It's a Blizzard issue. Fix your goddamn game.
I think are the undisputed kings of stepping on this specific rake time and time again. I do like to think of what a specific solution could look like, and I guess it's probably something along these lines. It would probably involve perhaps Holly, perhaps Ian, someone formalizing
Man, Ian is lost. I'm pretty sure Ian has been replaced by AI. They took his brains out, and now it's just, I don't know. It's like, his body's nourishing his AI brain. It just, the man is soulless. He has nothing left. He used to be so passionate about World of Warcraft, you can see there's nothing behind those beautiful eyes. He's long gone. Every time I see him resurface, he has 3 hairs less. The poor man. Someone need to save him.
Protocol. Maybe with Blizzard's president, Johanna Fares. Because
yeah, of course, she will save the game.
Her job is to make stuff work with Microsoft and run the big ship. I think there needs to be a protocol where leadership of WoW can say, hey, look, this right now would make life harder for my team and probably hurt our long-term revenue. I think they need some sort of protocol, something that is established within the system of Blizzard that can escalate PR-related issues so they can be tackled in a way that feels direct.
Make the game good. Literally make the game good, and the PR will come naturally. Just like Deadlock, a game made by Valve. It has strict restrictions to get into, and yet people do all that they can to play it. Why? Even though it has 0 marketing? Because the game is good. I know. I played it for many, many hours. I'm really good at it. But unfortunately, Blizzard didn't get the memo. They don't care about longevity. No, they don't. All they care about is milking the current whales. That is literally all.
That's essentially the problem here. There's too many layers of separation. There are too many arms of Blizzard, all working not really with a great idea of what the other arms are doing. That leads to a customer experience that does not feel cohesive. And that's bad because the customer's relationship is not with you, the game director, you, the executive producer, you, the individual game developer at Blizzard. No, it's with the company. And if the company acts more stupid than the sum of its parts, well, tough shit. It's going to be your problem to deal with.
Yeah.
They need to do something about this. But for any of that to happen, they need an argument that sounds credible. And I think there's a fairly simple one. If you were to pull something like this from the store, refund people, and maybe put them into the game in some other way, whatever it may be, that would be of extremely high signaling value. You see, it would be Blizzard saying, okay, actually, we're not going to do this thing to make the money go up because we actually care about how much you trust us and the value of our relationship. And we're willing to sacrifice a little bit of short-term money in order to make sure that relationship is good.
That would happen when World of Warcraft becomes fun again. So, never.
That's the type of thing that actually buys trust. Because talk is cheap. Action is what actually matters. And a specific, costly action is of high signaling value, and in this case, would be highly emotionally resonant. That is the type of PR Blizzard has thus far never been able to do. We've seen many other companies actually be able to do it fairly successfully. I hope they find a way.
Yes, okay, seems to be the end of the video. I'm not gonna lie, this was very difficult to watch because of Blizzard's stupidity. Once again, really great video by Bellier. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. You guys can watch it for yourself. Should give him a like. And I mean, at the end of the day, I already said what I had to, right? It's all Blizzard greed. Nothing is going to change. They're clearly just testing the water with insane pricing on housing decor. And the moment people would crack, they would just take a step back and people would be like, yeah, W Blizzard, while they're still playing hundreds of dollars on stupid pixels inside of a video game, which they already pay a sub fee for, and base game. So nothing matters. Literally nothing.